Hey guys, welcome back to another World of Warcraft leveling video. This time we are just doing more quests, you know? Just kind of doing some classical quests, you know? Sorry for the abrupt ending in the last episode. It was absolutely required that I didn't go over an hour on that one. So, you know, I stopped it. And let's go, you know? Let's get right back into it. In Duskwood. More like Muskwood, if you know what I'm saying, right? You picking up what I'm... Because there's rabid animals all over. You get it? Alright, you got it. Okay, alright, I'll see you later then. What am I looking for? Raw Blossom kills some dudes and... yeah, kill some dudes. Raw Blossom. Raw Blossom. Also, was that a Draenei Shadow Priest? Worgen. Looked like a Draenei. Maybe because I'm blind as fuck. I will say, the best way to just kill shit as a prot warrior is just kill more shit. Well, duh. Nah, but like, I don't know, man. It makes sense in my brain. Don't question my methods. Basically, I'm referring to the whole making sure you have victory rush when you're fighting every single enemy. God. Stupid frost armor, dude. I've always hated frost armor. Literally, no matter who has frost armor, I just hate frost armor. I just hate move speed slows that apply upon hitting a target, you know? Like, that's the shit that I dislike the most, I'd say. If not the most, I dislike it a lot. But, whatever. Can't change it. I wish I could. Can't, though. So I gotta kill some Nightbanes. Yeah. I also wish that I could heroic throw within, you know, melee range. I understand why I can't, but I just wish I could. Actually, I should probably just keep them alive so my Thunderclap gets maximum damage. Okay, what do I have to do? I guess click that thing. Oh, here's muddy journal pages. Oh, that's just, alright. Shows me what happened. What happened here? Whatever. I was temporarily turned into a worgen. How bizarre. Evade. Evade. I'd like to kill you. I need to slay some of you. If that's alright. I sure hope it is. It'd be quite awkward if it wasn't okay. Stupid evade. God. Actually, which okay. I'm trying to think of the most optimal way. I have a very efficiency wired brain. it's very much wired for efficiency. So I'm trying to think of the optimal way to kill groups of enemies, whether it is kill them one at a time or try and keep them all alive so I can kill them all via thunderclap. And I'm not certain. Like, I want to say it's the thunderclap one, right? That would make the most sense, but now that I think about it, because I use Victory Rush whenever they die, right? I have to kill one to get Victory Rush, which is a bunch of damage. I'm thinking maybe keep them alive as much as possible, as long as I can also use Victory Rush on every single one, right? It's a completely irrelevant thing, by the way. Don't think I'm trying to be like, yo, I figured out the secrets. It's just like, I don't know. It's how my brain works. I think about that shit. Why? I don't fucking know. Nice, we got pommel. What does that look like? Oh, it looks like a tabard, huh?
Hello.
Hello. Yes, please. I will take a dodge ring. Literally just 5 dodge. What a good ring.
How are you?
Right. Okay. $15.99. Yes, please. All right. And then to you, I bring Rot Blossoms. Hey, that's a good one. It's a good ring. God, I really, really like the female Draenei model. And I really, really hate the male one. I don't know, the female Draenei model is just really good. It's really well made, I guess. And it just fits. I don't know. The male one is like...
We've been walled up for far too long.
We've been walled up for far too long. But the male one is just like, you know... I mean, he's got chicken legs, right? Like, here, let me just toss and inspect. Well, okay, he doesn't really have chicken legs, but he definitely looks like one of them jocks who really fucking hates leg day, you know? One of those workout types. He looks like somebody who does CrossFit and neglects his legs. Right? That's what he looks like to me. Well, the female Draenei just looks like a fucking thing. Just like a person, you know? Oh, but she has unrealistic proportions. I don't fucking care. It's a video game. If I cared about realistic proportions, I wouldn't be playing fucking video games, alright? Tell me it's not true, brother. Tell me you didn't die a murderer. But why? How could you? This is my, incredibly, exaggerated Michael Caine, of course. Oh, is this? Hang on. Is Tobias the guy who gives you the quests in SFK? I feel like he might be. I feel like I haven't paid enough attention to really know for certain. But, based on this interaction, and the fact that in SFK, on Alliance side, you have a Worgen leading the charge, and on Horde side, you have an Undead leading the charge. I don't know. It's interesting. And what's even more interesting about that kind of I can't see. That like, I don't know. I wouldn't call it a dichotomy, but you know that difference between the sides. What is interesting is that SFK is like, you know, all the evilness in SFK are Worgen, right? And like the drive for the Worgen to lead the charge against other Worgen. I mean, obviously there are like undead things and shit. I guess it's a combination of it. But like, you know, their drive is that like the Forsaken have this chip on their shoulder about the Worgen apparently. I don't fucking know why. I honestly don't understand it, but they do. And like the Worgen don't want to just be seen as fucking monsters.
Hey there.
Yeah, give me that.
See you later.
What about Abercrombie and Fitch? All right, we're going that way. Alright, so I think what I'll do, I did more thinking since the last episode, even though there was like only a, 12-second pause between them. I think what I'm going to do is pretty much just quest most of the time, and just use dungeons as like a linking tool between questing zones that I want to do. Like if I don't want to do a questing zone, I'm going to say fuck that shit and just do a dungeon. But I will keep to quests most of the time. It's not the fastest way to level, but it is very enjoyable. I do like it. Which is incredibly contradictory to what I said in the last episode, but I do enjoy quests. It's just most of the time my goal isn't necessarily have fun while leveling, it's just level them. Get them higher level. So there you go. But in this instance, I am absolutely going to be focusing on the fun aspect of leveling, which I do think is fun, as previously stated. All right, so at level 30 we get our choice between more healing Victory Rush, Enraged Regeneration, or Second Wind. I don't like Second Wind. It seems very questionable and unnecessary, while Enraged Regeneration is just good, right? It's a 1-minute cooldown, regenerate, 30% of your max health, essentially. Which is, it's quite good. That's really good healing, absolutely. And sometimes you just need a regen tanking cooldown.
Keep your chin up, eh?
Keep your chin up, eh? The only British accent I can do is like a variation of Michael Caine, unfortunately. Either that or like a super exaggerated, like, shit, what's that? Oh, fuck, what's it called? Oh, why can't I think of it? It's a, like a location, it's a description of an accent. I can't remember, but you fucking what? That accent. It's like the super exaggerated London, but like clearly not London accent. It's like everyone's default British accent, where it's like incredibly exaggerated, and nobody fucking talks like that except for, people from this specific area, and even those people don't. It's like a complete, self-created sort of thing, I guess. A lurking Worgen just jumped out of the shadows and fucking knocked me over and then ran away. What a jerk. Why can't I think of it? The name of the accent. Does it start with a B? Maybe? I don't remember at all. Why can't I remember? I don't know. No, fucking, hang on, Cockney. There we go, Cockney. Alright, Cockney. That's it, right? This is a sword? Alright. Weird.
Farewell.
Yeah, Cockney accent. It's the very, literally the most exaggerated British you can get. And generally not accurate of how actual British people speak in any way. Cockney is not London, right? It's not an accent from London. I'm not making that mistake. God, I'm certain I have British viewers and they're probably like, you fucking idiot. Cockney is from London. I'm pretty sure it's not. Cuz London's like a very, it's also like a very thick accent, the London one, but it's more, I guess, realistic in the realm of accents, you know? It's less of like, oh, you fucking what? And more of like a, you fucking what, mate? You know? It's like that sort of difference. I don't know. I've known people from a variety of places in the UK, and the difference in accents across such a small country. I mean, I'm not, you know, I say small country because, I mean, compared to the US, it is quite small, but it's still a fairly large one compared to a lot of the European countries. It is weird to me that, like, the USA is so fucking... First of all, so many people who speak out online happen to be from the US, which makes me ashamed of being a US citizen. What do I have to do? Ogre's Monocle. From... Yeah, okay, he's in there. He's in there deep. So, like, people when discussing things online tend to have a very America-centric point of view. And that's fine and understandable. You just need to be able to distance yourself from the bias, you know? Having a bias is a natural human thing when it comes to pretty much anything. Us humans tend to have biases, alright? The important thing is knowing how to move past the bias and actually be able to discuss things, right? You know, just because you like a certain movie, you know, you're biased to liking the movie. Now, that's not to say the movie is bad, but it also means you have to at least back up your points about why the movie's good, right? You can't just be like, it's good. You could say, without backing it up, I like it. That's a perfectly reasonable thing to say. But saying it's good in, like, an objective sense and not realizing that your own bias in favor of the movie is the thing that made you say that, yeah, it's a thing. It's a whole thing. But yeah, so like so many things are very American-centric. A lot of people are very American-centric. So when I say the UK is small, even though in comparison to a lot of other countries, it's quite big, it's because I'm American and I'm stupid. And I like to be like, yeah, America is the standard of everything. How you guys like them their inches, huh? Or feet, or yards. Ugh, God, I so hate the imperial system. And also, why did it get the name the imperial system? Can somebody explain that to me? This is not a rhetorical question that I normally like to ask, where I just ask a question that's intended to not be answered by people as just a way to further a conversation with myself as I'm doing the commentary without any actual interaction. I'm just continuing a conversation with myself. So a lot of times I'll ask rhetorical questions. But this is one that I'm actually interested in because I've never really done the research on why it's called the imperial system at all. At all. I just know that it exists because it was during the whole we hate the British stage in our in our teenage country's life. And like, you know, we don't want to use stupid metric and stuff like that. Ain't you a chippa looking one? Alright, okay. I mean, alright. You know, like, that's fine and all, but... I'm gonna flight path back here, turn these in, of course. Muy importante.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Hey. We get to ride griffins together, man. Level 23 panda warrior who has 1/3 the health of me, as he does not seem to have heirlooms. Alright, never mind. I guess I don't want to inspect them. That's fine. I don't mind. No, really, it's fine. I don't care. Also, people seem to forget a lot of stuff about like world history, even though we, you know, put so much emphasis on world history in our classes. In America, of course, is what I'm referring to. People seem to forget so much of like the important factors about it. Like, obviously, we as individuals have no problem at all with like British people generally. This is a general statement, so I apologize if, you know, it's not quite the most accurate. But, you know, I have no problem with people who are from the UK. Pretty much everybody I've talked to has no problem with people from the UK. Maybe some crazy in the South has a problem with people in the UK while he's waving his Confederate flag and cursing out the I'm not gonna... I mean, I don't want to say that word. I don't think it has as much power as people like to put behind it, but I'm not going to say it. Out of respect.
See you around.
Alright, apparently we need ghoul ribs. I'm just running around making food for people. What the fuck? But yeah, and like, we don't really have a problem with people in the UK, so a lot of people get this kind of perception that like, you know, oh, America and the UK are buddies. But I mean, the reason America exists is because we essentially seceded from the British Empire. Which is where my assumption of the imperial system, the naming convention of the imperial system, I believe it came from something in that time frame. It had to, right? I don't know specifically what, which is most of my question, but... Also, what is very interesting, though, about how history is the thing that has so much emphasis in the American schooling system, and how little people seem to put emphasis on it themselves, like the people who went to school seem to not give a shit about history and shit. It's very interesting because the statement, you know, you either really, oh my god, it's not 100% drop rate. I just got lucky and got 6 in a row. Now I'll never get another one. But there's a saying where it's like, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it, or something along those lines. That's the gist. I'm not very astute. I don't actually do the complete research on these things to just say the sayings down to the letter, because I don't give a shit. You know, the idea is more than enough for me. But like, it's such a true thing too. If you actually look at a lot of the online, I hesitate to call them movements, but you know what I'm referring to. Specifically things pertaining to the social justice movement, are very... And you're going to be like, you're gonna think I'm over exaggerating or something. I just want to preface this with I am not literally creating an equal comparison between these two things. I am just saying there are traits of both that are shared with one another. Social justice and Nazism. Again, let me hang on. Let's hang on. Because both were built on just an accepted truth. Right? Does that make sense? So, the Nazi Party rose to power because the people who supported it were essentially brainwashed. They were fed something that they just believed, and they didn't put in their own individual thought or anything like, oh, hi, Stitches, what the fuck? Why is everything on fire now? So, like, they didn't put in their own thought and be like, whoa, this is fucking, why are we killing Jews? And the thing is, it's crazy, because most people who were legitimately part of the Nazi Party didn't hate the Jews. It was just a thing that they did because they were fed this, essentially fed lies, you know? It was a relationship built on explicitly lies, right? And again, I'm not saying if you are a social justice warrior, you're a Nazi. Don't, take my words as that. I'm just saying they're built on very similar things. Social justice is built on a lot of, not necessarily lies, but not truths, per se. For example, one big one that gets thrown around a lot is the whole women make 77 cents to the dollar that a man makes, which, I mean, if it got debunked more, I don't even know. Like, it literally can't even get debunked more. It's been debunked so many times as a statistic. But, they still perceive that because they want, in this circumstance, they want it to be, women are the victims, blah, blah, blah. And it's worth noting that the wage gap, just before you go, the wage gap is real. Yeah, every profession does have, if you take the averages of people working in the same positions, yeah, there's going to be a couple percentage points between any demographics that you compare. But there's no singular demographic that is ever lower than anybody else, of course, when comparing two jobs in all walks of life, in every single thing. That doesn't happen. I don't know. I think I'll put that on 4 and then on S1. Yeah. So, like, yeah, there's in, for example, in the medical field, doctors, like surgeons, I think this was brought up in one of my Isaac videos that I talked about the wage gap, in the comment section, which I appreciate. If you guys want to start a discussion, yeah, feel free. Just keep it civil. That's all I ask. God, Dev State's good, huh? Excuse me. There you go. So in the medical field, when you take averages of people who have the same job title of male and female, there is, in fact, a bit of a wage gap. Now, it's worth noting that if you compare equivalent jobs in various other professions, there is an incredibly similar, if not identical, wage gap that is advantaged for women. For example, in education in general, men will get paid less than women. In general, that's like, on an average sort of thing, which is where all of these wage gap things come from, is a just bulk average. But like, so the whole thing about the social justice movement is that it's built on these sort of victim complex generated falsehoods, rather than actually based on legitimate things, legitimate concerns and shit. So, and they really, really like statistics, I've noticed, except when the statistics are accurate. They really like statistics when they're stated in such a way that it furthers their agenda. It's a very unique sort of thing. Never really, I don't know, it never ceases to amaze me how much they like to cite statistics that can be proven to essentially mean something completely different, or the source material for the statistics are biased or whatever, right? Like many ways to debunk them, and then they're just like, these are perfect, and then you bring up a statistic of like, I don't know, other stuff. I can't think of anything right now. And then they're just like, oh, it's just because of the patriarchy. What? The fucking what? Excuse you? Oh, the patriarchy. Don't you know? I know what a patriarchy is. But, I mean, you live in America, right? Anyway. Sorry for that tangent if you guys tend to hate social justice bullshit as much as me. Maybe you dislike hearing that sort of thing. But I like to be open to different perspectives. I like to hear different perspectives and make my own judgments about it, rather than just being like, I dislike this thing, so I'm just going to remove it from my life. You know? And maybe that's bad in the long run. Maybe this is hurting me on a mental level. But, fuck it, whatever. Pursuit of knowledge. Pursuit of knowledge to me is a lot more important than maintaining sanity, I suppose. So what's Sword and Board do? Shield Slam generates 5 more rage. Oh, okay. That seems fine. So yeah, I like to see things. I like to consume information from all perspectives and kind of create my own opinions on stuff. And I know a lot of people don't like to do that. And also, speaking of the whole Nazi party thing, I don't know if you know, you probably know who Bo Burnham is. If you don't, you're fucking dumb, and you need to check out Bo Burnham right the fuck now. Sorry for calling you dumb, but, you know, you owe it to yourself. But he had a joke in one of his specials. I want to say it was in his first special. Why didn't I loot this? It must have hit internal bag error or something. But it was like, you know, so he does, if you don't know, he's a comedian. He does musical comedy, generally. So he'll play a song on, like, piano and have lyrics that go along with it, and the lyrics are funny, right? That's his sort of thing. And he started on YouTube doing pretty much, you know, comedy songs, comedy writing songs, which is what he does now. And he does stand-up at this point. But it's like, one of his jokes was like, God, what was it? It was like, when I say something, you say something, something. Everybody else goes, something. And he's like, and that's how the Nazi Party was formed. And it's so perfect, because that's, I mean, it's fairly accurate. The reason I like Bo Burnham so much is because he's just smart. All of his comedy is very smart. Like, some of it's like, you know, edgy for the sake of being edgy. But I think you have to have some of that in your stand-up routine if you want mass appeal. But a lot of it's just really, really smart humor.
How are you?
Or maybe just calling it smart humor is a bit inaccurate, maybe disingenuous. But, you know, it is humor that has a lot of solid backing to it. It's humor that makes sense. It's not just funny because farts are funny. It's soothes a forlorn spirit. Do I just... Okay. But yeah, it's like, you know, it's not like Daniel Tosh type humor. Daniel Tosh, I love Daniel Tosh. I very much like his humor. But his stuff is more just like, you know, it's like, it's edgy sort of stuff, right? And I like Daniel Tosh just because he makes me laugh. I don't have, like, a full understanding of why I laugh at Daniel Tosh. comedy. I just do, and I like it. But Bo Burnham's is more like, you know, you hear the punchline, and then you can just take a step back and be like, oh, you know, like you can take that moment to think about it, and instead of just being like, he said fart nipple, you can actually like be like, oh, that's very interesting. Ah. Now we get the APM going. There we go. Whoops. All right, let me try again. Hey, there we go. Oh, target must be weakened. There we go. So yeah, if you haven't checked out Bo Burnham, do it. I could not recommend him more. I really couldn't. And now that we've properly segued into a dead end, I'm just going to talk about playing World of Warcraft again. You know, I think I'm going to put Devastate on 3, because I use it more than Victory Rush. So, my logic behind where I put things on my bars is very scatterbrained. So, you're probably going to just be like, what does it look like? Lame. Like, outwardly wincing, most likely. Eventually in this series when I get, like, full bars of stuff. And I inevitably click stuff that I only use, like, once every 2.5 hours. I'm not a clicker, but I mean, if an ability is something that I use incredibly rarely, incredibly seldom, then... then yeah, I'm gonna fucking click it. I don't give a shit. Whatever. If it's like an actual, like, combat cooldown that I'm gonna use, like, eventually, Pummel's not gonna be here, right? Because I don't fucking use interrupts. Instead, on Shift 3, it'll most likely be, like, Enraged Regeneration, if I had to guess. Alright, so what do I want? What does that look like? Is it cool? It's actually pretty cool. Too bad I'm a warrior.
We've been walled up for far too long.
We have been walled up for far too long.
Long live Greymane.
Long live Greymane. Wait. Is Greymane the one who built the wall? The Greymane wall? Or was it named after him because he was the one behind it? Because why would you be like... What am I doing? Oh, okay. Actual ghouls, I understand. Because, okay. If they're like, we've been walled off for far too long, and then they're also like, long live Greymane, that seems a bit weird to me. Again, I mean, it's not weird if it was named the Greymane Wall because that's who was kept in with it. I don't know. It seems weird to be like, long live Greymane, but also complaining about being locked up forever. I don't know. If Greymane's the one who built the wall, which is my assumption, which is probably false. But it is called the Greymane Wall. Flesh-eating worm. What am I doing in here? I'm assuming it's just, yeah, it's right there. Alright. Can I jump through here? Too tall. They know that's no longer a wall. It's actually no longer a wall. It used to be a wall, but they changed it. Instead of an invisible wall, it's just that the only way to get through it is if you're a gnome or a dwarf. I guess. I'm assuming. But I found out on a gnome, and I clearly can't jump through on a Draenei. And since most characters are, you know, a fairly standardized height, aside from dwarves and gnomes, and I guess pandas. Pandas can probably jump through, right? They must. Oh no, there's a stupid flesh-eating worm. I like this. I like just a straight up kill fucking 20 dudes quest. This is what I like. Alrighty. Level 27. Alright. Easy peasy. Nice quest. Nice and easy. I seriously, I've noticed that the more time I spend recording myself talking over video games, the more British isms I adopt. Now, that's the correlation, right? So, I mean, clearly, based on how correlation interacts with causation, it must be the cause as well, right?
That's enough gabbing for me today.
That must mean that every person who records themselves playing video games and puts them up on the internet eventually just speaks straight up fucking British English, right? It makes sense. It also has a correlation to every day I'm throwing away more socks. So the more socks I throw away, clearly the more British I become, you know? Which is a damn shame. Damn shame. I mean, that means I'll just be straight up British soon. I throw away so many socks. Mostly because my socks get super fucking fucked up so easily. Like, I don't understand what happens. But, like, I wear my socks for, like, 2 days. You know? Well, okay. Let me elaborate further, because this might be a weird thing to some of you. But I don't change my socks every day. Because that's just inefficient, right? That might be weird to you. I don't think that's weird. I think it's a perfectly reasonable thing to not change socks every day. Especially because I really don't have any body odor issues. Like, at all, right? I'm a very body odorless person. Like, I could, and don't take this as me saying that I do, but I could probably get away with, like, only showering, like, once a week, and it wouldn't even smell bad, right? I don't do that because it's fucking nasty from, like, a hygiene sort of sense, not just, like, a smell sense. But that is the amount of body odor that I don't have to deal with, which is wonderful. So, because of this, I just don't fucking change my socks every day. It's normally like every 3 or 4 days, because that's just efficient. Also, I don't own a lot of pairs of socks. Search the tunnels. I'm looking for tunnels. Oh. Yeah, so I don't change my socks often, which is definitely the cause of my socks getting super holy super fast. But the thing is, right? The thing about it that I find bizarre is that when my socks get all holy, it's like in the weirdest fucking spots. You know, everybody gets holes on the toes of their socks, right? That's a normal thing. Not everybody gets holes in, like, the arch of their foot on their socks, right? Like, that's not a normal thing, right? That's like just a me problem. That's the thing I have to deal with that nobody else fucking does. Excuse me? Why did you just evade 2 hits and now suddenly you're normal? And like, yeah, so I got troubles with my socks, basically is what I'm trying to say. And it's very frustrating. And like, I haven't bought new socks in a long time, which I pretty much have to at this point because of how many I've thrown away. You're an elite, do I? Hey. But yeah, I mean, I've gotta get new socks soon. Yo, that's crazy. That was actually, okay, that was fucking sweet, right? So yeah, I definitely need new socks soon. But I mean, shit, man. Socks cost money and shit. So, it's fucking rough, you know? I don't know how I got on this topic. Something about holes in socks, and that the holes in my socks are fucking weird. I mean, like, I get them on the balls of my feet as well, which isn't particularly unusual, but it also isn't that common, I've noticed. Most people who get holes in their socks, it's like the heel and the toes. But it all does depend on where you put the weight on your feet. And I guess for me, it's very much focused in the balls of my feet. And the weird thing about getting them in, like, the arches is that I have very high arches. You know, I'm not just, like, walking around with flat feet and that's the reason or whatever. Hey, I'm no longer smart. Perfect. No longer the smartest warrior. Alright, let's turn this in and then go to Stranglethorn. And then we can end the episode once there. So I don't know how they show up in the arches, but they do. It's not, okay, that's not like, I'm not, sorry, let me correct myself. That's not a thing that happens incredibly often, but it has happened 3 or 4 times in recent memory that I have gotten holes in the arches. And I think that's actually just because the socks are too small and they're stretching too much. So it's putting a lot of pressure on that part under the arches. Because that's the part of the sock that gets stretched the most. Aside from, like, the toes. So that's my assumption. But I don't fucking know. It's still fucking weird. Either way. So basically, I've just gotten used to having holes in my socks. It's just like a thing I live with now, you know? So what happened here? Why in the fucking fuck did Stitches fuck this place up, lighting everything on fire, and now everything's okay again? Like, immediately. I don't understand. Was it Stitches? I think so. Stitches is the Stratholme boss, I believe. And this is like the first time you see him. And then you see him later in Eastern Plaguelands, roaming around everywhere.
Hey there.
I think. I don't fucking know. Boy, I sure wish I turned this in first. Story of somebody. That's a long book. 9 whole pages? Yeah, fuck that shit.
Well met. Have a good one.
Well met. Have a good one. You have a good one. Alright, so I know it says suggested players 3, but I ain't no pussy. So, you know. Also, this is like a level 23, 24 quest, and I'm 27, so we'll be okay. I am certain we will be just fine. Also, I do really like Stranglethorn. I do like that they split Stranglethorn via this like Maelstrom-esque thing. I think it's pretty cool. Because Stranglethorn, I believe the levels that it covers are still exactly the same as it used to be. Where the northern part of Stranglethorn, which is literally called Northern Stranglethorn, this is the... what is it saying? 25 to 30, and this is 30 to 35. I believe that's exactly how it always has been, but it was just one big zone. And I know of many people who died in what is now the Cape of Stranglethorn, thinking that, you know, it was the correct place to be. Especially Horde, because the way to get there as Horde is via the boat from Ratchet to Booty Bay. And then you get to Booty Bay and you're like, well, this is my questing area. Let's quest. And then you know, die. But anyway, so where... Okay, I'm assuming he's... Oh, there he is. He is, in fact, an elite. Got it. Too bad he's fucking dead. That wasn't even difficult at all. Is my... Yeah, so I'm gonna Hearth just to save a little bit of time. Which is important considering I have 9 minutes left. So yeah, I think this series is definitely gonna be hour-long episodes pretty consistently. So far it's working out that way.
Hello.
Hey.
Be careful.
We are 28. Leveling up fast without doing execute.
Well met.
What the fuck? Oh, what does that look like? A sword.
Go with honor.
Oh god, I have to go back.
What can I do for you?
You can send me here again. That's what you can do for me. Golly. So, I remember there were quests relating to this big tree, but I haven't hit a single one, so I don't quite understand. Because, like, this is an area in here with stuff in here. There's not a dungeon, though. So the existence of it might just be aesthetics now, but I could have sworn there were quests in old Duskwood. That's what this place is. I see Duskwood up there, and I'm like, it's Duskwood. Yeah. But I don't know. It's very weird. Also, can I just say, I fucking love how much I'm pushing buttons. One thing that is definitely missing from a lot of classes is just the APM. And it was interesting, Kriparian was on the Angry Chicken podcast, which is a Hearthstone podcast. And if you don't know Kriparian, he started with WoW, then moved to Diablo, and Diablo is where his channel exploded. And then he did PoE when people realized Diablo was pretty shit. And then he hated PoE, and then he decided to start playing Hearthstone, and that's where he is right now. But he was talking about how, you know, his main advice, because he was in like a big ass, oh hey, it's you again. He was like in a super successful raiding guild or whatever. And so he made like videos, right, during WoW, giving like advice about it. Do I have to fucking kill you again? Alright, I'll kill you again. Don't think I won't. Alright. Thanks for the green. Alright, to Stranglethorn. But his biggest advice, right, in general, was just hit more fucking buttons. Like, because at the time that he made these videos, it was pretty much Wrath of the Lich King time frame. I don't know. I think he was part of the guild in BC, but really only started the videos in Wrath. Regardless, though, the biggest issue that people were having with DPS in raids was that they just weren't hitting buttons enough. Their APM was too low. And that's such a weird thing to think about for World of Warcraft, about having like a low APM and shit. But like, and it's probably not nearly as true now after the ability prune, but in Wrath, there were, I mean, even in Wrath, there were way more abilities than there are now in general. Because of the horrendous ability chopping block mass murder. But, yeah, so like there were a lot of buttons to hit, right? And, whoops, no thanks. And a lot of people just didn't hit the buttons. Also, I'm gonna, yeah. Apparently I'm not gonna grab the second cookie. No, not cookie crumb. Breadcrumb, that's the word. But yeah, in Wrath, people just like weren't hitting buttons enough. People were just like trying to time their abilities, you know? Like, let's say, you know, you're a hunter in Wrath. Now, forgive me, because it's been so long since Wrath. It's been, you know, 7 years, at least. And so I don't fully remember my hunter rotation in Wrath. However, I do recall steady shot being part of it. And, you know, if you're doing multiple steady shots in a row in Wrath, like, a lot of people would go, like, right, they'd, like, try and time it at the end of the previous cast, and that can work, that can be okay. But the thing is, that will never give you as many steady shots as literally just right, like, that is always going to yield more steady shots just by spamming the button. And that was a huge problem with people in Wrath. It's probably still a huge problem now, but, you know, a lot of people would ask, like, Crip, hey, how is your DPS so high? And he'd just be like, I hit buttons a lot. And so that's why I like hitting all these buttons. Mostly because it's multiple buttons, rather than just spamming, you know, my steady shot, auto shot macro. Do you guys remember that shit? Holy fuck. People always talk about the glory of raiding in fucking vanilla and BC, even though 90% of DPS classes were fucking one button macro for optimal DPS. And I'm not exaggerating, that's a true fact. I mean, like, the ones that weren't were like the dot classes and shit, but I mean, Hunter, non-affliction Warlock, God, what other classes? I don't know. I didn't play, like, a lot of classes, so, I mean, in BC I barely played, but that is when I started. And also, I'm just going to sit here and ramble for the last minute. But, like, okay, so Hunter literally had a macro in BC. Raiding in BC, you had a macro that was, it was /cast steady shot and /auto shot or whatever, /attack, whatever the command is in the macro line, whatever. That was it. That was your macro, and you just spammed it. And you want to know why? Because steady shot allowed you to auto attack, right? But the catch was that auto shot or auto attacks would just not, you know, continue during a cast, right? You wouldn't. So when the cast ends, you wouldn't begin auto-attacking again. So, you literally had a macro that would tell your character to cast Steady Shot and cast Auto Shot. And it turned out that was the highest DPS, because it was literally Steady Shotting and Auto Shotting at the same time, which you can do now, by the way. But it's automatic now, not like back then when it was kind of manual. But there were a bunch of classes that were similar, where you just literally had a macro and you cast one spell forever, and that was the highest DPS. Great raiding experience, am I right, guys? Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't want this episode to go over an hour. I don't think I'm going to avoid having any go over an hour. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one, which will, you know, I'll be recording in mere moments, but it'll be tomorrow for you. Anyway, whatever. I'll see you then.